Hey everybody, and welcome to our last session of day 2, and the session that I've been most excited to talk about because while it's cool to see what the product team is innovating on the product, we also get to innovate too. One of the cool things about our community team also being developers means that we also get to build cool things in our community. And so there's something that we've been working on for a while, and it's something, of course, related to AI that I've been excited to tell you about today. And today we want to introduce you to Community AI. So Community AI is an experience that we built exclusively in the developer community for users who are looking to do more with development on our platform that are also interacting in our community as well. And rather than me sit here and tell you about it, I actually have 2 of my team members today. I have Phil Ellis, my senior staff software engineer, and I have Tyler Myros, my staff developer advocate. And let's just get into it. And Phil, why don't you tell us more about Community AI and what it can do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jordan. So if you look at my screen right now, you can see I'm in the developer community. And if you have access to this AI, then you'll see a little bot icon up here. And when you click on that, you can see it's specifically trained in a bunch of different areas. And one of the areas that I'm going to look at right now is APIs. So if I have a question about APIs, before this, I'd have to go into our API docs and navigate in there and try and find what I'm trying to answer. But now I can just click in here. It brings up a dialog. And now I can ask whatever I want. So in this case, I have an idea of what I want to do. I know I have a source, and I'm not very comfortable patching sources because it's kind of complicated, and we have all that documentation around it. So I'm going to try just asking it a question around that. So I have a source that I need to patch a field. Specifically, I want to add a new field to the connector attributes section. How can I do this? And let me just go ahead and send that. So now I've sent this out, and the AI is actually going to first actually generate a header for this. So you can see like the topic is now kind of labeled patching connector attributes field in source for Identity Security Cloud. So that's nice. So I didn't even have to think of like what I'm trying to ask it. It actually summarizes it for me. And right after it does that, it's going to reach out to our documentation. It's actually searching the documentation and coming up with an answer to this question. So we have to wait a little bit while it churns through all of that information. But it usually doesn't take that long. Probably takes about 20 or 30 seconds. So just as Jordan said, one thing that we wanted to do for everyone in the community is make the experience better. And that's part of the reason why we built this AI. And so now it looks like it came up with an answer to that question. And you can see it says to patch a source to the connector attribute section, you can send a patch request to the source's ID endpoint with the following JSON body. And that JSON body looks correct to me. We can try it in a minute. And it also gives a little more information and even a code sample so that now I can do this in, looks like, using the Axios package in a TypeScript project. So this would work great if you were building a connector and you need to use this code. It'll use that straight away, which is also nice. At the very end, it'll also give you the sources that it referenced for that answer, which can also be helpful if you kind of want to read deeper into what was used to create that answer. But right now, I'm just going to take this patch body that it created, and let's see if it actually worked. So I'm going to open up Postman, and you can see I have our collection here, our V3 collections. I'm in the sources section, and I'm in the patch. I'm going to go ahead and paste that patch body that it gave me and send that. And it looks like it actually was successful. I could even go ahead and get that source, assuming I have the same source in there. I think I do. And we should also have that new body in here as well. Let's see if I can find it. It was connector attributes, and then additional, what was it? I can't even remember. Let me check here. It was new field name. So let's see here. Oh yeah, new field name. a new field value. So it looks like it worked real nicely. And I can make that a little bit bigger for you too, so you can see it. Yeah, so new field name, new field value. So that's great. So that's the first check here, and it can help you make your APIs. The next thing I'm going to try doing is maybe a little more advanced. So I showed APIs. There's also some connectivity. Customizers are in there as well. I'm not going to show that quite yet. And workflows, which is also really interesting. So definitely try that out if you're able to. Right now I'm going to go into connectivity though. So for this one, I'm going to try something a little more advanced. So I'm going to say, can you create a simple connector that implements test connection and list accounts based on JSON placeholder. And I've got this up here. So if you've never used JSON placeholder before, it's just a place that you can go to make API request calls. And so this is a GET call that's already kind of pre-formatted for us. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. No, whoops, not the whole thing. I'll just copy the URL. Users route. Okay, so I'll go ahead and send that. And let's see how it does. So hopefully it'll be able to reach out to our documentation, figure out how to create a connector based on this specific route in this data set that I gave it. And again, it created my title for me, so creating a custom connector for testing connections and listing accounts in Identity Security Cloud. That's okay. Maybe do better than that, but hopefully we'll be able to improve this over time too. And that's the great part about this. This is just the beginning. I think what you find is as AI continues to improve, we'll be able to add more AI features into our product and hopefully make your development process just better and better over time. So it already created an answer for me, so that's great. And it looks like it even created some code. Very, very nice. So let's see here. I'll, I guess, once again, copy this out. I'm not going to go through the time to read through it all, but hopefully it did a pretty good job. Up here, I actually have the base connector already set up here that you'd get when you did the sail con init command. I'm going to go back here and just make sure that it looks like pretty much everything is there. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. It looks like there's one error, but I actually know this one. This is a simple one. Some of the documentation may be a little old on this, so this is just going to be changed to the standard connection, not output, but input. So I'll go ahead and fix that real quick. I'll update my import. And it looks like that's good. I think, let me just check here though, that I already imported Axios, because that's not going to be there by default. So Axios is already imported. That's nice. And it looks like everything's pretty much there. I'm not, spending time to go through every piece of code, but again, this is how it works. It's a little bit iterative. It'll generate a nice set of code for you that you can use right away. You might change things here and there, but it's a really great way to get started and build something really fast. Looks like it's got the API route correctly created, and that test connection just checks to make sure that works. Down here, it also calls the API. It returns a more complicated key than I might want to, so I might actually change this to identity, and then user.id.string. That looks a little better. I'll save this. But let's run this and see if it works. So we're already in there, and it looks like there's no errors in the code. So we'll get this thing started, and hopefully we'll have a working connector. 0 errors. Looks like it started. So let me scroll into Postman, and we'll actually reach out to this thing. Try test connection first. All right, so that worked. Looks like that was successful. And then account list. And yeah, it looks like I've got the identity, disabled and locked attributes, and it looks like they're all here. So I can even like kind of validate these names are right. Leon Graham. If I go back to my, yep, there's the first one, Leon Graham. So yeah, this connector, if I deploy this to Identity Now, I should get those accounts back, and it's like a fully working list accounts connector that actually reaches out to this particular endpoint. So that's pretty awesome. And you can do this with more advanced situations, like if you have an OpenAPI spec that you want to feed into it, you can go ahead and do that, and it should be able to generate like at least a starter connector for you. You can continue to ask it more questions. So if I wanted to dive a little deeper into this, I could even ask it something like, I might just respond to it now and say something like, can you also include Axios retry logic in this? And then send that message. And so now it's going to go a little further. I can continue to kind of add to this as I want to. I'll kind of, while I'm waiting for this to come back, I'm going to ask it one more question. So let me open up the AI again. And now I'm going to ask it a transform question. Now, I don't know that much about transforms, so I'm really just going to ask it like, what is a transform? Got to spell that correctly. And let's see what the AI says here. And so, I don't really know what I'm doing. I could read all the documentation, but again, that might be too much for me. I just want to get a little summary. I'm just starting in Identity Now, and I don't know much about transforms. So let's see what the AI tells me about a transform. And hopefully it knows more than I would. So again, it's really just fun to play around with this, and I hope encourage you all to do that. So you can see here, all right, gives me a lot of good information here. It even gives me an example of transform, that's nice, as well as references so I can see more if I want to. So at this point, since I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm going to actually bring in one of my colleagues. Happens to be sitting right over there, Tyler. So let me see if we can find him in here. There he is. I know he's the expert in transforms. I know that. So let me invite him to this conversation, and maybe he can do some more with this thing. So, Tyler, you over there? You listening?
I am listening.
All right. Can you help me out?
I'm here. I can help you out. Yeah. So Phil, I believe, just sent me a message in Discourse, not Disney Plus. Discuss. There we go. All right. There's my message. And there is the private message that Phil invited me to. So Phil just asked it, what is a transform? And you see Community AI responded with some, what's the purpose, how it works, usage. But, and look at that, yeah, it even has some example transform to kind of explain the JSON structure. So let's ask it to actually build a transform though. So I have a source here. It's a simple delimited file source. We got a first name, last name, end date, which comes in as actually higher underscore date is the attribute on the source. So let's see. Let's just ask it to create a temporary password. So I'm going to reply to our Community AI here and just say, let's see. Using what you know about transforms, can you write a transform that will create a temporary password? I'm going to increase the size of the screen. That's probably hard for some of you to read. Okay. So what I wanted to do is just basically make a concatenation transform using the first name, a piece of the last name. We'll do a part of the higher date and just a static string at the end that we'll just make up here. So let's see. Let's kind of give it some directions here. The first part of the transform, or rather, let's do the first character of the transform should be the first initial of the first name, and we'll tell it where to find that. So you can find this on the source example CSV source under the attribute name first underscore name. All right, that'll take care of the first character. Then let's do the second one. Let's say the second character of the transform should be the first, or let's do the third character of the last name. You can find this on the source example CSV source under the attribute name last name. So let me check the hire date again. Is that at start date? Okay. Let's have it grab the month here. So that's 10. So the next character of the transform should be the 2-digit month of the user's hire date. You can find this. I'm going to copy this so it's the same. So you can find this on the example CSV source under hire date in the format. I believe it's month slash, what was it? Month, okay. Month, day slash year. Okay. Let's do the final part of the transform, or not the transform, final part of the password should be the static string. I'm literally just gonna, that looks great. All right. So we'll see what it comes up with. We'll send that off. And as Phil said, this might take a few seconds for our AI to go collect the resources it needs to be able to do this. But we're looking for a transform that I can copy over and test out and hopefully get exactly what we're looking for here. So I'm not sure if Phil mentioned this, but it did respond. These messages are in a private message. So you're originally, when you ask the question, you're the only one that'll see it. If you want help from your colleagues, like Phil mentioned, brought me into the conversation, you can do that with the add or remove right there. And maybe you need help writing the transform, maybe you just want somebody to look at it, or just keep asking questions back to the AI. All right, so here we go. Here's a transform that generates a temporary password based on the requirements. And here, let's see what we got. So we got a split. That looks like that'll work. Substring for the last name. That's good. First name. Looks like it wrapped that one in a lower. And then didn't quite get the first top right, but let's copy this over to, I'm going to test this out. So actually what I'll do is I'll see if it can fix itself if I tell it kind of what it did wrong. I think really the only thing, yeah, let's see. The root type concatenation is not a valid transform type. Can you replace this with concat? Let's see if it figures that out for me. Yeah, so as I was saying, you can keep firing questions back out to the AI, and it will keep responding here. There we go, and there we go, perfect, okay. Let's copy that out and give it a test with this. So I have a tool that I've written here that I can pass in a transform. It'll go, well, I'll just run it and we'll talk through it as it happens. So let's do Python test transform, and then I'm going to pass the transform JSON I want to test, and that'll just be AI transform.json. So what this is going to do is it's going to go get all of my identity profiles that I have in my tenant, and I can use the up and down arrows to find example CSV source. So I'll click on that. It's going to then go fetch, using the search API, some identities from that source, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Amanda for that. And that did not give me a value back. Let's see what's going on here. I'm going to do some live debugging here. So let's see. Inputs. Let's check our transform documentation. Make sure it's getting this in the right format. We are in extensibility, transforms, operations. Let's make sure I have that. Okay, values. Let's update that. And run this again. All right, we'll go back to the example CSV source, pull up identities. Okay, there we go. So basically what this does is it's going to go create the transform, use that as a reference for the identity profile, and then we can test the preview. So if we look at that transform that was written, we told it to take the first initial of the first name, so that's A, so we'll see that down here in the test response. Then we told it to take the third character, I believe, from, let's go back here. We said, yeah, third character of the last name, okay. So for Amanda here, that is S, and there we go, nice, perfect. And then our last one was the 2-digit month from the start date. So if I look back at here, that should be 10. And I think that got that right too. So yep, 10. And then our static string. So the static string, that looks right. I just typed in, okay, yeah. So there you go. Okay, yeah. So you see it didn't get it quite right on the first one, but it got us like 90% of the way there. And we're going to make some updates and tweak this. And I think it will be impressed with what it can do. So, Jordan, back to you.
It's really cool to see that innovation at SailPoint, it doesn't just happen at the product level, right? It's happening all over the company. So even here in the developer community, again, we're looking at what kind of innovations can we make, and especially when it pertains to AI, how can we use AI to make our experience in our community better? So community AI is just the beginning. We actually have some AI features in other parts of the community they're going to be rolling out this year as well, especially around composing new messages and creating new topics. And also as a reader, when you're reading content on the developer community, there's actually some features that are already live today, like Summarize, where you can actually use AI to summarize a topic rather than having to sift through a long topic full of posts wondering, what's the conversation actually about. And community AI and the ability to actually interact with it directly is something that we're working on today. So as of today, community AI is actually available to all of our expert ambassadors, and we're going to be looking at in the future what does a rollout for community AI to the rest of our community look like. So to those of you who are interested in joining our ambassador program, like we talked about yesterday, not only do you get things now like the Identity Security Cloud tenant as a developer, not only do you get things like the recognition that we talked about on SailPoint.com or developer.sailpoint.com, but we're also looking at building new experiences like you just saw here with community AI. So if it's something you're interested, reach out and let us know what you think. Otherwise, we'll see you on days 3 and 4. Thanks, everybody.